the stitching going this way too, or only this
It does.
way?
It's just kind of hard to see because it's yellow on white.
So you use different colors. You didn't have the blue.
Yeah, this was from an earlier class when I only had 3 colors. So I've got yellow for both the upper and lower loopers here.
But you could really use any color you want.
Yeah, usually you'll be using all the same color. I just use different colors in class because it's easier for teaching.
But the teeth to do that.
Yeah, so for this, they're going to be moving more like that relative to each other instead of moving fairly at the same time. And the same for when you stretch. You have the option to stretch as well, which I don't think I have a sample of in here. No, not really. Although I do have some other kind of wacky stuff. Anyone who goes to Burning Man, please do this to this sort of fabric first, because then you don't get fuzzy bits that you have to pick up off the file. Just saying. And then this is an example of using the serger to form lace, which I need to continue working on. I don't have any fabric under this last batch of thread here. You can see it's just sticking out from the end. And then you could keep adding onto this and adding onto this, and you'd have just thread forming up the tapestry of material.
So you're stitching, but you're not doing any cutting because you're actually
right, because all of the thread is coming out over open space. So there's kind of weird things you can do here.
A longer stitch, then it gets really
looser. Yeah. So when I have more time, I'm going to play around more with making serger lace.
And then somebody could laser the logo on there.
Yes. Multi-purpose sample there. And of course you can use multicolored thread, changing color thread, and get some fun effects that way. This is again 0 and L on a very dense piece of fabric. So talking about stretching it, since I don't have the sample, I'm sure you've all seen like the scarves and the skirts that have that kind of frilly, they call it the lettuce edge. You can do that on the serger, again by setting the stitch differential. And instead of gathering it, it will actually stretch the fabric for you and then cut and bind it. And that stretch stays kind of embedded in the fabric and gives you that scallopy edge. So we will talk through stitch differential. Actually, let's do that right now. Grab your handouts if you would. There is a fantastic description of the stitch differential in the handout.
Now, is this a concern about...
Which is very hard to see, but trust me, there is a scale in here stamped onto the metal. Theoretically, if the little knob on this lever is set to 0, we're going to have our basic stitch, which is neither stretched nor gathered. And then your handout tells you, I keep forgetting which direction. If you move it up, I believe that's your stretching. If you move it down, it's your gathering. Is that right?
Yes.
Hooray! One of these days I'll remember.
You did.
So all you do is hang onto the lever, undo this nut to loosen it up, move the lever to wherever you need to, and then use your fine adjuster here to set a stop, which you can see kind of around front here. Yeah, this guy here, that's your stop. So that is the rough theory of changing your stitch differential. The only time you would ever do that is if you want it to be stretching or gathering and it's doing a straight stitch, or you want it to get back to your basic stitch here and it's stretching or gathering. If you're going to touch the stitch differential, leave extra time, because sometimes it will take a long time to get it back to the standard. In fact, that's one of the biggest problems we've had with this lately, is I keep coming in for class and it's just all over the place. So build time to first set it to what you want, and then to set it back to...
Do you guys have the settings somewhere so that we know if we use it what to set it back to?
You'll just have to test it and see what it does.
Okay.
Yeah, quite a bit of trial and error for this particular feature. But any questions on that, the theory of it, or why you want to do that? Okay. We are up for threading then, and then we'll talk about tension. Then we get through the project. And that's pretty much it.
The gathered looks like a, what is it, like a cut off t-shirt or something right here. You know,
yeah,
like
so
if you're making those kind of shirts. Right.
Yeah. Kind of an odd diagram, I guess, but there we go. I need to get an example of stretched sometime. Okay, so threading. I've got it set up. We're going to turn all this out, but then put it back together the easy way. So for threading, you're probably going to want to pop open both the silver panel here, and this front panel is going to slide across left to right and pull open. That shows you the entire inner workings. And you can see there is quite a lot happening down there, so anytime you put your foot on the pedal, you want your fingers well clear of this area. And it looks like we could do with a clean out. So, if you ever have too much lint built up in there, you can grab this air hose. Cover your ears if you'd like, it's fairly noisy. 4 threads, a bar to kind of hold them together, a tension dial for each thread, and we'll come back to tension later. And then crazy inner workings for the upper and lower looper, is what these two are called. And then the needle threads, 1 and 2, follow a separate path. There is a diagram down here showing you the precise thread path. It is, of course, miniature. There's a bigger one in your handout, but it's black and white.
So essentially what you have is 2 needles and 2 bobbins.
Yeah.
Loopers. The loopers are like the bobbins.
Exactly.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
And why they're still using bobbins for regular machines, I have no idea.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, when you're referencing this diagram, every little detail matters. And any time that you're checking out somebody else's threading that they've already done, check it against this chart. Every single detail matters. Some of the bigger problems is this upper looper here does need to be behind the lower looper, the way it is now. It's very easy to get those crossed up if you're threading them in the wrong order. Definition of overhand is not form looper being through. If you've got a bunch of tail here, you may want to trim it. Some people will trim right next to the knot. I like leaving an inch or so just because then I can see as this nest travels through the system. And then you can just start pulling it through. While you're doing this though, check to make sure the last person threaded it correctly. Because usually when I've come in here, there has been something wrong and I've had to correct it. So you need to go up over this first bar, and this bar can pivot around if you need to. This just allows the thread to pull freely off the spool instead of pulling from the side where you have to try to spin the spool. It's not going to work very well.
Also, does that matter which way the thread goes?
No, it can go either way, as long as it lifts up and comes off cleanly. Now, we've got 2 S guides. So we're going to go top to bottom, and then again top to bottom, forming a spiral. Then down here, we're going to do the same thing. Top to bottom, and top to bottom. Or back to front, back to front.
Now, how do you do
Top to
when
bottom.
you say that? So this, oh, I see. It goes down and then
Yeah,
it goes
comes
back up.
Exactly.
And then just spiral north.
Mm-hmm.
Does it
So
matter which way
spiral
it spirals?
and a spiral.
Yeah, does
It
it
does
matter
not
which
matter.
hole you hit first?
Nope.
Okay.
And it doesn't even matter which of these holes you use, just something that seems logical.
Okay. What
All
are
right.
those there for?
These apply a little bit of extra friction and just give you a more even tension on the thread. And you will sometimes see people doing multiple loops around here, multiple spirals, or just going straight through. That's a subtle way to adjust the tension if you're not getting the results you want. So it's another way to tinker with it. Most of the time though, you won't need it. Just doing a single spiral through is going to be just fine. Alright, now we're ready for the tension array. What we've got going on here is we have a guide, top and bottom, and then the thread itself is running between 2 pressure plates. And this is pretty standard for a sewing machine. We have a knob here, which is controlling pressure on a spring. The spring is pressing it up against 2 convex discs, and the thread is running between those 2 discs. As you adjust the knob here, you're adjusting the amount of pressure delivered by the string, and that is changing the tension on that particular thread. Now for the serger, we can make adjustments to each and every thread individually, which is great. The one thing to watch out for while you're threading the machine though, is you want to make sure that this thread is actually running between the 2 convex discs. On this machine, you can actually thread it behind the discs, and it will look like it's correct, but it will not give you good results because it will deliver really bizarre amounts of tension. You may also want to take the thread and essentially floss it down between these 2 discs just to get it firmly seated in the middle.
between the 2 cylinder discs here.
Yes, between the 2 cylinders. Now, as you're going through and pulling this knot through, first of all, try not to form gigantic tangles. When the knot gets to the tension disc, it's going to have a hard time getting through. So one thing you can do is take the outer part of this white plastic piece and just pull back gently on it. That's going to relieve the tension on the spring. So you can pull this out, and everything's going to go through
Is it like that
very
on home
smoothly and
machines? They
easily.
have one of those?
It may be.
Sewing machines?
Not sure.
So when you put it through here, you just put it like this, or how did you go? Under? You went over?
Yeah.
And then through the
Back
next
through
hole.
the other tension.
And you can see I grabbed from both sides just to make sure it's going all the way in. And you can actually see the direction down here in the chart. It'll tell you exactly how that needs to run. Now, we're going to go through it kind of a piece at a time today so you can see the whole path. When you get good at this, you can pretty much grab the right thread at the end, pull out on this tensioner, and just pull the whole thing all the way through, checking as it goes to make sure it's falling in all the right places.